The ceasefire between Hamas and Israel comes into effect on Sunday. But I speak to today's guest, senior diplomatic correspondent at Haaretz, Chaim Levinson. He recently wrote that Benjamin Netanyahu's and his spin doctors promise that the hostage deal is just a tiny lull, after which, if need be, the war will resume at full strength. But everybody from Doha to Riyadh, from DC to Abu Dhabi, is here for a grand deal, he writes, from advisors to brokers, huge infrastructure projects to multi-billion arms deals. Joining me now on the line is Chaim Levinson. Good morning, Chaim. Really appreciate your time. Just firstly, on the ground with the Israelis, how is this ceasefire being received? Of course, it's broken up into three phases. The first phase is, of course, the exchange of prisoners, hostages between Israel and Hamas. There will be further plans if the stage one is completed. But let's first concentrate on what is the immediate victory, in that a ceasefire, hopefully, and I use that with an asterisk, hopefully comes into effect come Sunday. Good morning.
Good morning, Lester. As you mentioned, the ceasefire will start on Sunday, but it's not only a ceasefire; it's part of a bigger deal. Immediately, taking effect on Sunday, will be released three Israeli hostages from Gaza in exchange for Palestinian prisoners that are convicted and held in Israeli prisons. But it's also a partially withdrawal of the Israeli forces from inside Gaza. There's a map that we didn't see yet, but I assume we will see today after the Israeli cabinet will approve the ceasefire, but Israel will withdraw from the middle of Gaza and hold positions 800 meters from the fence. Hopefully, that will lead for negotiations that part of the ceasefire is agreed after the 16 days of the ceasefire will start negotiations on the permanent deal for Gaza that will include Hamas and Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and Qatar. It will be complicated negotiations, but we'll wait and see what will happen.
But not also complete support within Benjamin Netanyahu's government. There are some cabinet ministers who are threatening to resign over the ceasefire deal.
Well, there's in the far right, they are against the ceasefire, but I will say that from preliminary polls that was done yesterday, 66% of the Israeli society is supporting the ceasefire. The far right's claim against the ceasefire, I don't, let's say there are claims. There are two claims. First, it's the end of the war. We are not willing to end the war without taking out Hamas from Gaza. And if we will get approval from the United States that after 42 days of ceasefire, we can go back to Gaza and finish the job of taking out Hamas, we will support it. Another claim, we are releasing terrorists from our prisoners that in the end will attack Israelis again. And it's a bad deal. We need to complete the job and finish Hamas now without any kind of ceasefire.
Criticism pointed towards the US government and Joe Biden's White House, outgoing president. By Monday, he will no longer be president. But questions on why has Joe Biden's White House waited 15 months to actively engage in a ceasefire? We've spoken to people this week that said by June last year already, Hamas was already to sign a ceasefire deal. You also have been writing that there could be very little that Joe Biden could take credit for, that in fact it was a incoming Donald Trump presidency that may have bent Benjamin Netanyahu's arm in the direction for at least an immediate peace deal in the area.
Yes, you're right. I think the ceasefire can be achieved not even before June, even May, even March last year. And I think there are two reasons. One reason, I think it's the Biden approach for diplomacy. There are kind people. I'm saying it in a good way. They're polite. They're diplomatic. They are offering solutions to the situation, and Trump is completely different. Trump is a thug, and sometimes you need a thug in order to achieve things. This is the sad reality. And when Trump was elected, and I will say to the best of the Biden administration, they even it's an administration that wasn't sworn in only until Monday. They let the Trump people be part of the negotiations. And the last Saturday, Trump envoy to the Middle East, the new one, Steve Witkoff, came to Jerusalem on a Saturday and told Netanyahu in a Godfather scene, take the deal. You don't have any choice. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, it took too many months, but now it's a different situation.
Of course, we celebrate and we welcome any peace at the moment. But what about the long term plan? What about a long term negotiation for a lasting peace between Israeli and Palestinians in that part of the world, Chaim?
Yeah, look, Israel demands that Hamas will not be a part of Gaza, not part of controlling civilian Gaza, and will, of course, cannot be able to restore his military capabilities. And and I think this demand is accepted on the Trump administration. And by the way, also many Arab countries says, of course, we are with you, we are against Hamas, we don't want them to control Gaza. I think the long-term solution will be, at least will be offered, Arab coalition, Muslim coalition that includes Qatar, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, that will invest tens of billions and maybe even more than $100 billion in restoring Gaza. Gaza, people don't understand it, is decimated. Northern Gaza doesn't exist. There is no house to live in northern Gaza. It needs huge amount of money and expertise in order to make Gaza a place people can live in. And the Arab coalition is supposed to do it. Hamas can be maybe in a kind of a declaration, part of unity government, unity Islam government, what will assist the people of Gaza. But I don't think anyone who is part of the negotiations will agree that Hamas will stay in power. I think the question is now to ask Hamas: Are you insisting staying in power, even it will cause the continuation of the war and huge suffer to the people of Gaza, or you're willing to be part of this Arab Muslim unity government in Gaza?
The likelihood of negotiations of a what many still see as the first prize in long lasting peace in the Middle East of a two state solution. What are Israelis saying when it comes to, yes, we are willing to negotiate with some sort of two state apparatus? I personally believe that we should unchain our imaginations and probably look at one state. I know it seems very, very far flung, but if an example in South Africa can be used of a single unitary state shared by people of Arabic, of Palestinian descent, along with the Israelis, that should be the ultimate in terms of how our imaginations could go. But practically at the moment, looks like a two-state solution still probably the best option for a long-lasting peace. What's the view of Israelis?
I think in any poll that you will do now, after the October 7th, I think the support of a two-state solution will be single digits, maybe 10%, not even more. And I think to speak now in the current situation, after 15 months of war, about two-state solution it's not practical. Also, you believe in it, you don't believe in it. I believe in it personally, but it's not practical right now. Um, Part of the solution to the end of the war is supposed to be a normalization with the Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia demands that Israel will. By the way, they agreed already the phrase a path towards Palestinian state. This is the phrase that Israel is supposed to sign on, part of the peace agreement with the Saudi Arabia. The peace agreement with the Saudi Arabia will cause them to invest money in Gaza. So it's all a chain. It's a chain that everything needs to work in. So I don't think it will happen soon. And I think after the war, many people in all the region need to ask themselves, Palestinians and Israelis, what country you want to live in? You want a war again, or you want to make small steps towards peace that maybe will achieve in the upcoming years?
Chaim Levinson, really appreciate your time, reporter, senior diplomatic correspondent for Haaretz News in Israel.